right. I'm calling to order the special meeting to discuss budget. And I'm actually going to take my mask off because I was told that it's hard to hear while streaming. Special meeting on April 18th to discuss the budget and principal evaluations. Anna, can we do roll call, please?
Catherine Ashmore Doherty here. Diana Batista. Rebecca Daly here. Diana Liston Sean Rowe. Maureen George here. Emily Hake here. Ann Locken here. Mario Nunez
Here.
Patricia O'Keefe here. Anna Fields here. Laura Simon
Here.
Lisa Thompson
Here.
Lisa Velez.
She made me happy, she's here.
And Benjamin Wong.
Here.
We have a plan.
I motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second, yeah.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? So moved. Anyone here for public participation? No? Okay, moving on. First, we are going to start with a presentation from Ms. Thompson about the budget. So you and I may want to move so we can see better.
I'll pull my mask down as well to make sure that everyone can hear me. Thank you for those of you all who are watching online, and thank you, LSC. I have already done a preliminary presentation with the teachers to share with them, well, not just teachers, but all staff, to share with them what we will be presenting to the LSC for approval. And I have already met with my network chief regarding this process, and so her approval cannot come until after the LSC has decided on the budget. The budget is due tomorrow, and so whatever we decide tonight, I will say yes or no by tomorrow, well, tonight, and then she will provide, she'll let me know our next steps. So there are about 10 slides. I've actually printed out the slides for you because sometimes people like to take notes, and then there's an electronic copy that has been provided as well. Overall, here we go. So the presentation starts with the allocation of SBB, student-based budgeting. And so you can see two allocations on the screen. You see an allocation for fiscal year 22, which was this school year, and fiscal year 23. Overall, right now, our 20th day enrollment was 4,386 students. I shared with the LSC earlier this year about how we had a slight dip in our enrollment during remote learning because acceptances went out kind of late. And so we didn't have as many students and families who accepted seats at Lane within the last 2 years. So this has been a slow decline. We knew that it was coming. However, we are now on the rise, and so this number will look much different this fall. Therefore, our district funded us at 4,386 students, and I then asked for an enrollment appeal. I asked for them to give us some additional money so we would not take as drastic of a cut to our budget, and they granted for 44 additional students, which would mean by the 20th day of school, we need to have at least 4,430 students in our building to maintain the funding that we were given for this school year. If we do, we don't lose anything. If we don't have that number, if it's fewer than 4,430 students, we will have to pay them back. Emily had to sign off on that, so did my network chief, and I worked with our network office and with Sarah Carroll, our director of admissions, to see our trends over time. And so we believe that 4,430 is an acceptable number. We actually accepted 30 additional 7th graders to ensure that we will meet that number. And so we are pretty confident that we will make it to this, to that expected number. The other part of this is we have a higher number currently of students who have accepted for next school year. So there's a higher percentage of families who have accepted so far. We are extremely excited about that. Now, I don't know where we will land with it, but we are excited about the fact that we will reach our goal of at least 4,450 students within the next 2 years, which is our magic number. So we can actually allow our building to run, keep our classes, and keep class sizes to a manageable number. So what you see on the screen is $26,841,860. That was what was provided. And I asked for the enrollment appeal, which gave us an additional $271,354. So this year's budget for SBB alone was $27,119,253.
Wait, before you move on.
Yes.
At the seventh graders, have they already accepted or that hasn't happened?
That goes out this front.
Okay, all right.
That goes out this front. So SA, supplemental aid, this number goes up and down, and it's based on the number of students in our building who qualify for free and reduced lunch. And over the years, I would say even during my time as an assistant principal, we went from close to 60%, and now we're only at about 35.5% of students who qualify. We get a dollar amount for every student who qualifies for free and reduced lunch. That actually helps to supplement for fees. So students can apply for waivers of fees if they, if their family cannot afford to pay the school year fees. This is the money that helps to support that. All of that, though, is provided in one large budget for us, and we can utilize it for staffing, textbooks, whatever we need to do to run our building, we can utilize the money for that. So last year we received $1.7 million. This year we've received approximately $1,596,438. And so that means that fewer students actually qualify. This number is based on the number of students who qualified by the deadline that we had for entering our free and reduced lunch application waivers. Most people don't realize this, but every Chicago public school student receives free lunch. However, they still have the waiver process. They still enact the waiver process for free and reduced lunch waivers to help with fees, etc., and to provide additional support for students. So this is all of the funding together. As you can see, there is a change of about $428,000 that we received in SBB and first learner funding. We lost about $117,000 for SA. And then we lost $250 for bilingual support, and that leaves us with a net total of $310,077. So how is this money spent at Wayne Tech? This is what we actually need. We had to open 2 PE positions, which actually is funded through the fact that we had to close 2 positions for teachers who are retiring in other departments. And we needed the 2 new PE positions, and we're able to staff and have an appropriate amount of classes, even though we're losing 2 retirees. Does that make sense? So one of those retirees is in social science, another one is in art. So we won't lose anybody in those positions, so we don't have to lose anyone in July, but we needed those positions for PE. School community representative and college and career coach. You all may remember we were given the Moving Forward grant funds, over $500,000 last year, and we funded a few positions. Well, that money is not being given to us in the way that it was before, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But instead of losing these positions, we know that they're vital to our building, so we were able to actually cover them through SBB and SA funding. So we managed to keep them. If it's approved, if you all approve tonight, we will actually still be able to keep these positions, even though we don't have the Moving Forward grant funds anymore. Yes?
So typically every year, because of lane and staff increases, just the
the overall cost of staff can go up, even though they're not actually adding positions. Correct. So what are we looking at with that number in terms of like that? Because if we're up 310 and you've got 4 new positions, how are we going to pay for step and lane in these positions?
That's already included in the cost when it talks about the salary. So the system that I use, it includes the step increase and the lane increase. The district is paying for, they're paying for step increases that we know of, and they're paying for the cost of living raises. So that was included in our budget already.
Okay, so that 310 is already accounted for.
Yes. Yes, it is. Now, what it does not account for is anyone who has continuing education credits that they earn. Like if someone gets a master's degree or switches some other way, then that's not accounted for here. But what happens is if you lose staff, you might hire someone that doesn't cost as much. Well, you recoup those funds, but that doesn't happen until after July 1. And once we recoup that funding, then it will also let us supplement.
Potentially those 2 PE teachers, if they're younger teachers that are retirees, that might not be approved.
Correct.
Absolutely, they'll give you a little extra.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions about that? We are also, we opened, and I don't know if that's written here, but we opened a student advocate position with some additional funding. I don't know if you all remember that, but I asked if we received additional funding, are we fine with opening it? Well, we opened it, but we know that we cannot afford to have an additional one. That would make 4. So what we're going to do is we're not going to allow that to stay open. So we'll stay with 3 instead of 4. That allows us to keep people who are in the building as opposed to bringing someone else. Okay, yes?
How is the position for if you have over 300 athletes, they're gonna fund the athletic director?
They are, that's in a
Oh, is it
slide.
on
Yes.
there?
So I'll talk about, no problem, I'll talk about the new positions that we're being provided. And then we'll talk about money that we'll get because of that, okay? So I'll go back. So those are the positions that are being opened. Do you all have any questions about these? Yes.
So I know what the college and career coach is doing, amazing things. I'm ignorant to the school community representative, like, I'm not sure who that is and what they're doing.
Sure, I can. So our school community rep, she actually sits in our counseling office.
Okay.
And so students have to come, as you all know, it's a busy space. So they come through there. She manages everything related to out of school time funding. So all of the programs, our clubs, our activities where teachers receive stipends, she manages that process. She manages mentoring. She manages student news. She manages the students who are entering the counseling department for their appointments. And so, but her location is in the counseling office. Really, she could be somewhere else, but there is a need to have somebody at that front desk to kind of triage what happens. So she's not their administrative assistant per se. I want to be clear about that because she has so many other roles in the building, but that's what she does. And really, she can do anything that relates to assisting students, that deals with helping students with programming, that provides a service possibly to parents, etc. That's what she offers. And that can be anything that we want it to be. Right now, the need is to have somebody in the counseling space, because if we don't have someone there, counselors would then have to take shifts at the front desk as opposed to spending time on it. Yeah, sure.
And so is that the one that was the library? We were gonna put them in the library originally, that position, or we were pulling it out of the library, was that?
So the library, there were 2 library assistant positions. We only have 1 because one person, she left. So what we did, we have the district, which will also come up on a different slide. They are maintaining our 2 school assistant positions, which are not funded from our budget. Those are just positions that are given to us. And so one of those individuals actually is stationed in the library to make sure that she does her responsibilities. However, she also is another adult in that library space, since we needed to save money and not have an additional library assistant at this time.
But she's funded through the district.
Funded through the
Okay,
district,
perfect.
yes.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry, ask all you want.
Do we have is our athletic director a new position that is funded through the district?
That's what's coming up next. You all listen, you can ask all you want, but it's coming up.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I don't want to umbrella.
Everyone's like, Brandy, I'm not give them to us now. So bottom line, here you go. $28,717,941. And our personnel costs $28,714,302. Meaning we are left with $3,639. We are. And so that money will be put on a contingency line for any possible increases, which would probably be much more. This probably wouldn't even be enough for one increase. But we would have to pull the money as we did it, based on the fluctuation in positions. So what does this mean? What's the impact? And I think that that's really what it boils down to. Basically, our money is being spent on personnel and services for kids. So we don't have any buckets to cover these areas. That's tutoring, professional development, summer team collaboration, substitutes, SAT prep, building operations, school furniture and tech, PD for staff or textbooks. There are no buckets from our district funding that will be able to cover that. However, some of these categories can be covered through OST funding. And this year, they're going to be doing an application where I will have to apply for the OST funding that we need, and then they will grant it based on what we are requesting, and they will look at the feasibility of it within our school. So,
Stands for what?
out of school time funding.
Is it a grant?
It is.
Yeah.
Mhm. And in the past, we didn't receive that money.
It's year to year, right?
It's year to year. This is the first year that Lane Tech has received OST money. And that's really, they gave all schools money based on a formula due to COVID. And so we were grateful to have it. We have used it, but it seems like most schools can't use it all. There are limits in what you can do. And so we haven't used all of it because there are limitations. However, they have told us that they are changing the parameters for next school year, and then we will be able to use it for additional things like teacher planning, which we could not do for this year. So we are excited about that opportunity, and I will be completing that application when it opens. They said it was supposed to open after spring break, so I'm hoping that it opens within the next few weeks. Okay?
So this is federal funding or this is state funding?
That's a great question. I believe it's federal, but don't quote me.
Okay,
But I believe it's federal.
So this is in replacement of the guaranteed federal funds they gave us for COVID, basically.
OST has been around
No.
for a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
We've been giving it for
Yeah.
15 years.
Yeah, it's not a replacement of it, but this is the first year that we have gotten it.
Okay.
So they expanded how many schools actually received it and gave it to everyone as opposed to a select group. For instance, we also don't receive Title I funding. So even though we are a school with students who come from all over the city, our school is in a location that does not allow us to qualify for Title I funding. In the past, OST was also something that Lane was not given, but we were last year, and now we can apply for it next year, and I will.
How much do we get this year? Down here.
340, I usually have it on the bottom of the agenda, I think it's like 348,000. No, oh, yeah, they gave us quite a bit. We have not been able to use it all. We could not use it to fund positions. We were only able to use it for activities. So that's how we paid for SAT prep this year. That's how we're paying for tutoring this year. That's how we paid for our clubs and activities, their sponsors. We're paying for chaperones or grad night. Like, there are things that we're able to actually pay out of it. And I'm really, it's been a blessing in disguise. That's what I'll say. Because if we didn't have that, all of that would have had to come out of our internal funds. So that has saved us from not having to do that.
So this is a totally personal question for me and my son's school because I'm in charge of getting volunteers for grad night.
Yes.
So are they substitute teachers that you're using, like, how are you paying?
I'm paying overtime to teachers who are going, but all schools might not have them. I cannot speak for other schools and how they have the money, how they will be able to use their funds.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we are able to do is use unrestricted funds
Right.
to assist for grad,
Okay.
but I don't wanna.
No, I'm just interested because it's hard to find volunteers from 9:30 to 7 a.m.
No, it's extreme. As a matter of fact, we have had to limit our spots because you can get more chaperones, but when you're dealing with hundreds of kids on several buses, and there's a lot that goes on with that, you know, so it's a tough thing. Lane has never been able to do it before, but our wonderful senior sponsor said she wanted to take it on, and she has, and it's been more than a no-show. But it's tough.
Yeah.
But that's what we are offering stipends.
That's hard work, I don't blame you.
It is.
All right, sorry, go ahead.
That's fine. So that's how we're paying for things that are listed here. So except for, I cannot use OST for school furniture. I can, and I cannot use it for the tech that we would do. Therefore, we will have to pay, if we need additional furniture, we will have to pull that possibly from donations, internal funding, where it applies. Because some funds that you collect internally cannot be used for furniture either. There are restrictions around that, I want to be clear about that. And then we will go from there. But we will still have tutoring next year. We are actually going to expand tutoring next year. We will still offer professional development opportunities for teachers. There will still be summer team collaborations for course team planning that will be offered. There will still, substitutes is interesting. That's also a change, and I have it listed here because typically they pull the cost from substitutes from our budget directly, and they usually block out for Lane close to $300,000 for subs. Well, they did not do that this year. They did not pull it from our budget. They are handling it centrally. We don't know what that's going to mean, but we know that it's not costing us for this school, next school, which is huge. So, any other questions about this slide? So that's the impact. Centrally funded positions, these are the magic numbers. So there are some changes, some we've already had those positions. For instance, the foundations position, my position, one counselor and one clerk for our building are paid for by our district. That's universal for every school. Every school gets those 3 foundational positions regardless of the size. New this year are what they call core instructional positions. We were given 3 of those. We are expected to utilize those positions for instructional coaching purposes, to release teachers to have time to do that. If we were able to, we'd be able to release someone and actually place them in a position full-time, almost like a mid-level admin. I cannot do that because I still need teachers in the classrooms. We can't afford that right now. But what we're doing is, which I'm happy about, we already have a director of curriculum and instruction who's partially released. Well, technically, now her work is being covered by this position. I don't have to put her in that position number. I'm being allowed to put our highest paid teachers in those position numbers, which frees up more money within our budget. And so that's what we're doing for those categories. And then we also have department chairs. They have released periods. Well, technically 5 sections equals 1 position. My department chairs have released positions, and so that's the equivalent of about 11 sections, and then my curriculum and instruction coach, she would have 4, and that would be a total of the 3 positions. And so the work has to be done around instruction, providing instructional support, supporting teachers, supporting our school building, and thankfully we already have structures in place. We're just being given the positions to actually cover it, which is new for all schools. This year. So all schools will receive some core positions. Any questions about those? Diverse learner, anything related to diverse learner gets covered by our district. They tell us how many. This number does not include the increase of diverse learners we will have. So we will receive an additional 11, at this point, 11 non-cluster teachers for diverse learners, because our diverse learner population will increase. The goal of our district is to ensure that all schools have at least 14% of their population that has students with IEPs. That is the goal, and that has been the goal since last school year. Last year was the first year, this was the second year. And so each year they will increase that enrollment. And therefore, we will make sure that we have supports in place. So right now, we're considering how we're going to look at differentiation strategies and make that a more pointed effort for next year in the PD for teachers. Because we've always had diverse learners, I want to be clear about that. But I also know that some of our students are coming in with certain needs, and we need to make sure we can fulfill that within the classroom setting and not always have to do it in a separate setting, because all students should be able to learn in their environment in a fair way with differentiated approaches. And that's where we are, that's the goal of our district, and so that is the goal of our school too. So, any questions about those positions?
So they aren't necessarily diverse learning we're getting district money for teachers basically for every increase they give us in diverse learners.
Yeah, they're giving us actual positions,
Okay.
not money. So they will tell us, you have an additional 11 positions, and then we will have to staff those. Well, those teachers will be diverse learner teachers who are operating as inclusion teachers with regular education teachers. So Lane Tech has a co-teaching model. Our diverse learners, except for our cluster, there are some inclusion classes per cluster, but for the most part, all of our diverse learners are in traditional honors, English, math, science, social science, music classes. And then we support those students within the classroom setting with an inclusion teacher who focuses solely on 1 to 2 subjects. So they might be an inclusion English teacher with a couple of inclusion history classes. And so those classes that are considered as inclusion classes have 2 adults in the room at a minimum who are providing supports for students to modify lessons, to offer support, have conversations with parents, supporting grading, and a lot of them do co-teaching models where they share the teaching and instructional responsibilities for the course.
So that we're getting 11 more of those positions.
Right now, yes.
Wow.
And that's what they started us off with. That might increase. I don't see it decreasing based on the expected number, but right now, so this number will change.
So just out of curiosity, what's the current percentage of diverse learners and what is the anticipated percentage this year? I know the goal is 14%, but what's the reality?
We're under 6% right now. And we'll be a little over 6% with this new change. Any more questions about that? Case manager, this is new. We are being given a half of a case manager position in addition to the 2 we already had. So we will fund the other half, and we already have, that's in our budget already. So you see 2.5 positions here for this year for case manager, but we really have 3 case managers, especially considering all the IEP meetings and 504 meetings that take place, because our case managers have to deal with both, okay? Next, bilingual, we get a teacher position paid for, a half-time teacher position paid for. We pay for the other half. We have, that teacher works with our ELL students and also does the testing for those students. We don't have a large population, but we have enough to support having a half-time position provided by the district. And we pay for the other half. We also receive 4 selective enrollment high school program positions. So that's things like what we have for the director of admissions, programming, and then we can use the positions for other things that we need to. And so that's how we fund those teachers who are not in the classroom, but are still in teacher positions. And that's paid for totally by the district. We receive 4 ROTC positions, even though 3 of them are being occupied. They have a 4th one there. They keep saying 4, but we don't have 4 instructors. And then we only receive 8 security, and then we pay for the others. The 2.
How many are we up to now?
There are 11. We're trying to still fill another position. We are still short of another position. I'm sorry, 12, trying to fill another position. And then we have 2 school assistants. Those are the 2 positions that I was talking about earlier. Those were given to schools for COVID purposes. So those are the individuals who, one person works in 213, which is our office that helps with our psychologists and our psychiatrists, our psychologists and our social worker. And the students come in there to get their minutes met by those individuals, but there's someone who's sitting at that desk, and she also does other projects. some of y'all may know her, but she's a volunteer, who always volunteered at Lane. So she's working in that office, and then we have the other person who's in the library with the other library assistant. And then the athletic director position. So we've been given a few options on fulfilling this role. Lane Tech will be hiring from within for this role. And so once we do that, it would be, we have received applications already. It will be a teacher that shifts into this position, which means we will have to replace them because they won't be teaching in their subject area anymore. But it might be at a lower cost because everyone who has applied has been in Lane Tech for a very long time. So that's where we are. We will recoup money then after July 1, once we make that decision. And that decision will be made this fall. This
person would be doing that full time.
They would be doing it full time.
And we have duties for the athletic director, or like a parameter for the position.
Yes, so they gave us no, that's fair. They gave us a few choices, but basically they said, if we are giving you this full-time position, because not all schools get it, if we're giving you this, they need to be doing athletic duties and covering within the building. And so that is what our person will be doing, and we will follow those guidelines. However, we will still support having an assistant athletic director, which we do right now. And then we have a clerk who supports athletics, who used to be an athletic director. And then we will most likely, since we're going to save money here, bring on someone else who can do some of the smaller roles. We have a huge athletic department. It cannot be run by one full-time position. Really, we need at least 2.5 people. We would need 2 full-time people to really run it the way we want to, but we don't have the liberty to do that right now. And that's the truth. So,
Evanston has 4.
wow.
Well, I would love to have someone on the tech side, because it's really hard to get information, up-to-date information about sports, coaches, schedules, all of that stuff is real tough.
So,
It's like very piecemeal, and a lot of it isn't updated regularly. It seems like coach by coach, team by team. It'd be great if we could get a consistent place on the website where people can go to get information about schedules and coaches and tryouts and all that stuff, like a one-stop shop for.
got it. And so I think you all know this, but Assistant Principal Carrie Thompson has been doing a lot to streamline a lot of the communication. And so she has a lot of ideas for what this actually would sell.
That would be great, because I agree, that 8 to 18 is like, it doesn't, like,
Oh, yeah.
other schools, like, they have the teams rosters up there. They have-
So other schools don't use 8 to 18?
No, they do, but they actually use it. Ours is like a shallow of
Very
ours.
detailed.
Well, part of the problem is the restriction,
Yeah.
as you know.
But it's also like, you
Yeah.
have coaches who aren't CPS employees, right? And so they.
Those are the ones my heart just goes out to.
Yes.
I get
Coaches.
That's a different conversation.
No, that's fair, and I agree. Our coaches work really hard, and as I think most of you, well, all of you all know that our current athletic director still teaches 3 classes and is athletic director, and our assistant teaches 5 classes and is assistant AD. And so there are a lot of things that I believe we will be doing, and I'm actually really excited about it. I'm also excited about being able to bring someone in addition to help with the 3-person show that's happening right now, which possibly could be that streamlining that we're talking about on communication. So thank you for sharing that. So that's the athletic director position. Additional funds is OST funding, which we've already spoken about. And this shares what has been done with those funds in the past. As I said, they have expanded the definition of how they can be used, and once for fiscal year 23. So that would be anything starting July on.
And when do you, I know it doesn't, you can't apply until this week or whenever, but when do you find out if you get the funds?
That's a great question. The application closes in the middle of May, so I'm imagining that we would know before July 1.
Okay.
The great thing about it is that we would still be able to fund things that we need to fund. We would still be able to survive. So I am not stressed about us being able to provide programs and services for our kids. The thing that worries me, or that worried me, was really if we had not gotten the appeal and had lost an additional $271,000. because when I first received the budget, we really needed to cut $890,000.
Wow.
That's where we started, honestly. So that's how we were in the red that much. On paper, it doesn't look like that, but that's where we were, $890,000. Takeaways, really quick. The enrollment decreased, as I told you all, that 4502 just happened to be one of those high years, and that's where they left us, and they kept supporting us. So really, that was an anomaly, and it makes it seem like there's a drastic change. But that was 1 year. Like we haven't seen that number since that year. We've had money to support that number, but we haven't seen that number. And so I know that a lot of times our district does not get much credit, but I really appreciate that they've done that, because that has helped us sustain over the course of this time. Or every year we would have just been losing money. So yes, it did hurt to have to make the cuts this year, but the opportunity for doing the appeal really helped. Okay, we do have increased labor expenses, which includes those salary increases and step and lane increases for experience and education advancement, which was actually included. We have fewer students who qualify for free reduced lunch, which is why we lost the money. The OST funds will help us address needs if we are approved. And then if our enrollment goes beyond 4430, as of the 20th day of school, we will receive additional funds. And at that time, we will be able to decide how we will spend that money. I did a survey with the teachers to ask them how they would like us to spend that money, and we gave them several categories that they could choose, and even an other. And so they have a lot of interesting things to share. Once we receive that money, if we receive that money, I can share that information at that time. Some of the things that they will, I actually think we can fund before that time, and I will present that to the LSC before the school year ends, so you can hear that information. So we did ask for their input, and they replied. So we do have input from them, and we'll go from there.
So how many incoming freshmen accepted seats?
I can't remember the last exact number, but principal's discretion just finished. So I don't have an accurate number at that time.
When, and that's this week or?
I believe they'll find out this fall.
Okay. All right.
How many applicants were there for PD?
Hundreds. And Sarah Carroll and Molly Hart are the lead liaisons on tackling that. And I really appreciate their time.
And
Let
you
me just
had,
say that.
you had no, like, it was a 1 week turnaround for you guys
Correct.
this year? That's
Yes.
insane.
It was bad for the kids too.
Yeah, but they did extend it into spring break though. But the goal was to finish that week. But it's done. I am breathing, they are breathing, and here we go.
And we used all of our,
Every single
all of
seat.
our seats.
I didn't
How
leave
many
a single
did you
seat on the
have?
table.
50 something?
We received 56 seats, and I took them all.
All right. Well, hopefully we get to this number.
Oh, we'll be, I'm not worried about getting to this number. I'm worried about exceeding this number too greatly, because like I said, the percentage of acceptance is higher than what it was before. Ms. Johnson believes that we will, how did she say it? There will be some drop off that happens this summer. And she believes that it'll put us right around the 80% acceptance rate. I am not sure yet, and so I will wait and see. And we will accept all of the wonderful kiddos who come in the building, and we will do what we do best and go from there. So those are our takeaways, and that's the end of this presentation.
And is this your senior, the last big, like, class over? Is this your senior's the biggest class? No, that was last year's, right?
Last year's was.
No, like in the school right now.
Our freshmen are close. Our current freshman class is up there. As a matter of fact, really, when you think about it, you want to have about 1,100, and if you can maintain, I believe we came up with 1,140 students. I'd have to look back at it over the course of each year. That'll keep us around the 4450 to 4460 mark to sustain. It's going to take us some time to get there, because we had to accept more students to make sure we don't experience as large of a gap. But eventually, within 2 years, we believe, I think he said in 2 to 3 years, in 2025, we will see it level out if we stay steadily on the path that we're on right now, where we will be right where we need it to be. We don't foresee another dip happening, but we do see a steady movement. And so there will be at least one more high year within that cycle. There's no way around it because we had to make up for the small class that will be actually our juniors next year. Our rising juniors is a small class, and that was pandemic time.
Did we take any transfers this year?
We have not opened the transfer process. We're trying to see, we wanted to see what final numbers were from the district first, because we don't know if we will be able to open it. And if we are able, Mrs. Johnson has already spoken to me about this, if we are able to open it, we might actually open it sooner than what we thought. We thought we wouldn't be able to open it until May, but we might actually get to do it before then if we open it. So we'll know soon. Principal's discretion goes out this Friday, and the 7th graders also get their acceptances this Friday.
And do they have a couple of weeks?
Not several weeks. That's a faster turnaround.
Okay.
Condensed this year.
Yeah, it's a faster turnaround. I'm just glad that everyone got their notifications early enough. I think that has helped us earlier than what it was in the past.
Yeah.
Because the year that we had to do, that was the year that everything was in turmoil. And you really can't blame, place too much blame. We were all trying to navigate through those tough times. That's where we are. Great. Any more questions about the budget? All right. I think that ends my time.
Okay, well, I think we have to go through the motion.
I motion to approve the budget as was presented to us by Principal Thompson. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? So moved.
Thank you.
Well,
I can sleep tonight.
Thank you. I know you all worked very hard.
Yeah. The APs worked really hard on this, so I'm shouting them out. I'm going to, I'll wait until you go to the Q&A session before
Okay, yep, so, now we have to do every year, one of the LSC's jobs is to do principal evaluation. And we are going to go into closed session for that, and then we will come back out just, to approve what we talked about in the closed session, and we will adjourn the meeting after that. For you all out there, the screen's going to be off and we're going to be muted, so you can stay on if you want to and look at a blank screen, but I have no idea how long it's going to take. And literally, we will just take a vote to approve the numbers that we had in the meeting, but that won't be an open number, a public number, because it's a personnel issue, and a vote to adjourn. So you really don't need to stay. But we do have a meeting Thursday if you want to be here for more exciting information. So thank you, Principal Thompson. And then we need to set up a time to meet after tonight, before Thursday, so I can present to you the numbers, and then you will accept it at the next meeting.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So thank you.
Do you want us to vote to go in close?
Yes, so, I motion to go into closed session.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone abstain? Anyone opposed? So moved. And
Oh, no, I'm good. Hey, guys.
We are back in the open session. If there's anyone still out there, it is 8:37. We have finished our principal evaluation discussion, and I motion that we agree to the numbers that we discussed in closed session.
A second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Which technically, Sean, you're abstaining because you can't vote. And then, we don't have to have someone sign. I just have to write down everyone's name. We don't have to actually sign it, right? I think I just have to.
No, nothing.
Well, we'll figure that out when I actually have it open up to be able to do it, but we have everyone here, so, all right, motion passed.
I motion to adjourn.
Well, you have the other numbers.
Sure, announcements, I mostly did this so when people get the email, that we're having another meeting on Thursday at 6:30. Report card pickup is 12 to 6 on Thursday. LSC elections are here on Thursday. That's from 6 a.m. to 7, and hopefully we will have the results during the meeting. If not, then we have to have yet another special meeting to verify the results. And the Green and Gold Gala is May 6th, 5 tickets, and 5 action items. Motion to adjourn.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? So moved. See you Thursday.
Now, I'm gonna get some tea tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Get some rest.
Wait, so the law didn't have to resolve